Benvenuto, welcome to Cherry Hill Home Cooking. My name is Mark. Today we're going to make New England Apple Cider Cake. Now, why is it called New England Apple Cider Cake? Except other than, that's what my mother had written down on the recipe. But I think the real reason is this an old recipe? Certainly not. I don't think it was my mother's recipe. If it is, let's copyright it. I don't think you can do that. But anyway, it's an old recipe. It's been around for a long time in New England. It's something that is generally enjoyed around this time of year because, of course, it's apple time. Depending upon when you watch this, we're in November in New England. But anyway, I think probably the reason it's called New England Apple Cider Cake is that, of course, apples and apple cider would have been very well known in England, and as the English settlers came to this, part of the world, and New England sprung up. I think it was probably one of the first crops they planted was apples, and then they started harvesting apples and eating apples and using apples to cook and apple cider, just like they did in England. So that's a little bit of history I got. I don't know if it's true or not, but anyway. So of course, what are we going to need for an apple cider cake? We need apple cider and apples. All right, so whatever your favorite cider is, we're going to go over this, how we do this in a minute, but whatever your favorite apple cider is. We need 3 large Granny Smith apples, all right, and I have started to core and peel them. We've done this many times. I'm just going to go over it again. It's funny, peeling apples and potatoes, any kind of potatoes, is probably my most hated kitchen or food prep task, and it seems like all I've done is peel apples the last several weeks. But so I've peeled, and of course if you got an apple corer and you want to use an apple corer, go right ahead, but I just cut along about where I think the seeds are, and then I'll just I run my finger just just to make sure I haven't picked up any of the core. It would be rough, of course. Okay, so then we're going to slice these into slices. I'll put in the recipe exactly about how many slices we get in. I think it's 12 or 14 or something like that. And I'll slice those up more if I need more. But now, if brown apples bother you, get a bowl of water, cold water, squeeze a lemon in it, and put your cored and sliced apples in there, and they won't turn brown while you're getting the rest of your recipe together. I don't care, brown apple. I don't care about them. They're going to turn brown anyway, but it might bother some people. The only problem with that is you have to dry them really thoroughly after you take them out of the water. Okay, so, and we're going to do a couple of these things as we go along. We've done this before. I just want to show you guys how I do it, at least. So we need some all-purpose flour. All right, and we need 2 cups. All right, so we're going to kind of do our spoon thing and just get it in there till it's overflowing with your flour. Maybe give it a little and scrape it off and into our sifter. Thank you. Now, of course, you could just go in there and do that. I don't know. A baker told me a long time ago that was teaching me how to bake Italian cookies to do it this way, because it does help you get a little bit better of a measurement. I don't know. Of course, the best way to do it would be to weigh it, but I'm too lazy, I should say. All right, so I think we need 2 cups. Let me just make sure. Yes, no. Yeah, we need 2 cups flour. So 2 cups all-purpose flour. All right. So then the next thing we're going to do is we need some baking soda and baking powder. So this calls for both. Now, while we're on that subject, we do this. We're taping this live. I've measured out the ingredients. I know that I'm going to need 2 eggs. I know I'm going to need this or that. So especially when we're making like something that's a savory, a meal, a supper or something, of course I'm not going to go out and buy 3 chickens so that in case I make a mistake, we can do it over again. On the few times that I've made a mistake, actually my whole life when you think about it, I will scratch that totally. I'll always finish it. It always tastes delicious. Well, I shouldn't say that, but I'll finish it. We'll eat it just because I don't want to waste food. But also, we won't. I won't let Wade post the tape. When I'm dead, he's gonna post a video of all my bloopers, I'm sure, and I'm gonna haunt him for until he's dead. But anyway, the reason I bring that up is that a couple times people have said. And, you know, sometimes a comment feels a little, I've gotten much better of it now that we're doing this for a couple of years. I don't get so hurt if somebody makes a unkind comment. But a lot of times they'll say, oh, you know, you said baking soda, but it was baking powder that you put in. Again, we are doing this live. Wade, you know, then spends a couple hours editing this and putting this all together. We don't have a studio set up, you know, all kinds of special cameras. The reason I say that is, occasionally I'm going to make a mistake, but it's always correct in the recipe. So if I said you need some baking soda, well, this is actually baking powder, or vice versa, please refer to the recipe if there's any question. I don't know if anyone else has seen this really cool baking soda new packaging. I love it because you can close it tight. It's got a little spot that you can measure for your spoon where the other one never did. I guess it's sold nationally. But anyway, all right. And we're going to need some salt because, of course, any sweet recipe needs a little bit of salt. So I've got my baking powder, my baking soda, and my salt in there. And we're just going to sift that through. You know, I guess the original was probably to make sure you got out any big clumps or anything. I guess there's a couple little clumps in there. That's actually my salt. But anyway, all right, so that's good. So we're going to put that aside. All right, so I wanted to go over that because in this recipe you do need both. All right, so then we're going to need a cup of sugar and some butter. And again, this will all be in the recipe. We're going to cream those together. We need 2 room temperature eggs, if possible room temperature. All right, and then we need... I believe it's 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And I've mixed that together. We're going to actually sprinkle that on the top of the cake before we put it in the oven. Now, you're also going to need some heavy cream. All right, so we've got a half a cup of heavy cream. Now, really, what I wanted to talk about is, and I mentioned earlier what we do with the apple cider. So this is, you start with a cup of apple cider. I did it and Wade took some filming of it, so he'll insert there. But it's a cup of apple cider reduced to 1/4 of a cup. And Wade can attest I actually exactly reduced it to 1/4 of a cup. I don't know why. It's probably the first time that's ever happened for me. But if you don't reduce it to exactly 1/4 of a cup, don't worry about it. If you reduce it to 1/3 of a cup and you're afraid to let it go any further, just use just take 1/4 of that 1/3 of a cup, splash a little vodka in the other one and drink it, and the rest of it drink it. But anyway, the reason I'm saying that is, of course, the reason you're reducing it is you're just concentrating that apple flavor. Okay? One other really important thing is you really do need a well-greased, and I've used vegetable shortening to grease this because that's what my mother's recipe says to use. Doesn't say to flour it, so I'm not going to flour it. Hopefully, it will come out good, right? This is a metal pan. I don't know what I did with my glass 9x9 pan, but it really does come out best if you use a 9x9 pan. I bought this a couple of years ago when I couldn't find my glass one, and I'll tell you, I hate this pan. It's supposed to be non-stick. It's a good pan, it's a good brand pan, but I hate it. But anyway, so a greased 9-inch square pan. All right, I'm gonna pick up this mess and we will go on to getting our batter together. See you in a bit. Alrighty, so I've left out my apple cider because we're going to make a glaze for this. I think I briefly touched upon it in our first part of this, but we are going to make a glaze and we'll go over a little bit more of reducing, all right? So in this, and of course you can use a handheld mixer. In the bowl, I've got my room temperature butter and my cup of sugar, and we're gonna get that going and combine it, cream it. The reason we want to reduce our apple cider is prior to really kind of getting along with the recipe is you want that to cool. So that's nice and cool because of course when we put the cold apple cider, hot apple cider into our heavy cream, it's going to curdle. Don't forget I got the oven set at 350 or preheated. It is now heated. Now, of course, it's a little, it's room temperature, but it is a little cool in my kitchen today, but, so that might not, that'll be good. All right, so we'll get our cooled apple cider mixture in with our cream and give it a good stir. And we're going to add our eggs. Now you can add your eggs one at a time. I didn't have two little small bowls and I was too lazy to wash another one, so we'll add them both in. It'll be fine. And get those creamed together as well. Okay, turn that up a bit. So again, it's like with everything, it looks like there's a lot of ingredients, and then once you get them together, it's oh, that went by fast. And we want to just kind of get that all incorporated. It's probably going to take 2 or 3 minutes till you don't see any lumps or very few lumps of the butter. And it'll turn a pretty golden yellow. What else about this cake? Now, as I said, this is a cake that we're going to glaze afterwards. If you're going to, it really glazes the nicest if you cut them all into pieces, take them out of the pan and then just glaze it. Because then you've got this beautiful apple, thick apple glaze dripping down the sides. If you're going to be taking it someplace, of course that's going to be a little bit more difficult. You can always just leave it in the pan, glaze it nicely. It may fill in a little bit more than if you cut it into pieces, but it will still be delicious. All right, so we got that. And we're gonna start to, so see, basically all our lumps are gone. There might be 1 or 2 little small ones, but that's okay. And then let's start to just slowly incorporate our dry ingredients. The wet. Let me grab a spatula. To scrape down the sides. We'll put a little bit of delicious reduced and heavy cream apple cider in there. That is so good, guys. I'll give it a little scrape down. And we'll put some more flour in. We got at least 3. And a little bit more of that. Maybe at least 3 batches. Now this is this cake. It's a moist, but it is a dense cake, and it does take 50 to 60 minutes to bake. So take that into account if you want to serve it, because of course you want it to cool and then glaze it. But if you wanted to serve it the day you're going to be making it, take the baking time and the cool down time into consideration. Get all that deliciousness in there, and I'm going to let it go a few more minutes, and then I'll give it a final scrape down. Turn it up just a notch. I don't know if anyone has noticed, but I have 2 bowls. I have a glass bowl and this bowl. I particularly like the metal one more for baking or mixing like a batter. Really, the only reason being is that it's a little smaller and the sides are narrower, and I never end up getting any batter on the bottom of it, that I have to scrape up. But watch, of course, I'll have it all down there today. All right, that's good. We'll unplug it so our fingers don't get chopped off. Scrape as much as we can off the batter, the beater. It's a nice, soft, lovely batter. Okay, let's get it in our pan. I've seen a version of a, look at all, we just lost that. A version of this made in a bundt pan. Like I said, my mom always did it in a square pan, so. And of course, I'm just gonna spread it out. I seem to be losing so much of this. Get over here. Oh, I may have licked my fingers, but I don't usually do that. It's just Wade and I that'll be eating this. Oops, sorry about all the noise. Get all of that off our batter, our spatula. And just spread it out to the corners as much as you can, and as even as you can. Let baking soda and baking powder is going to kind of self-leaven. Leaven? I think that's the way it would be pronounced. All right, so now for our apples. Our brown apples. I don't usually have to wait this long, so they're not usually that brown. But, so you want to take your little curvy side up and just put them all. I do the, you know, if I have an end piece, I save that for the last. So the thing is, we want to cover our whole cake with our apple slices. And as our cake rises, of course, this is going to fill in. That's kind of thick around the apples. You're going to play some nice music, soothing music. Well, yeah, we only got a few more to go. We can get those in between. Almost. I have to use that nice thick one. All right, guys. Let me just give my hands a little rinse. Then we've got our finishing touch is, what did I do with it? Right there. We've got our 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and we've got 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, ground cinnamon, of course, and we're gonna sprinkle that all over our apple seed. Those are going to turn brown anyway because of the cinnamon. No one will even know you didn't put them in, is it acidulated water? I think that's the term when you do, in French cooking at least. All right. Again, we got our oven at 350. All nice and hot. We got the rack in the middle. Let's bring our little delicious apple cider cake. All right. So again, that's going to take between 50 and 60 minutes. We'll set a timer. Okay. Set a timer for 50 minutes.
Sure, 50 minutes. Starting now.
We'll come out. We'll check it. Of course, we're going to poke a toothpick into it. Oh, you guys got to come over here.
Oh my goodness.
Come here, bring the camera. Can you make it? Look at Wade's new toy. All right. He loves to pick his teeth.
Bring it up.
Let me bring it up. All right, so shall I demonstrate? And we have a toothpick. Isn't that genius? Anyway, okay, sorry I'm making fun of you. All right, so like I said, we're going to come back and we'll check it in 50 minutes. We'll come back and show that to you. And then if it's not quite done, we'll put it in for a few more minutes. See you in 49 minutes and 14 seconds. Our cake is in the oven. It's not quite done yet. It's got about 9-10 minutes. 19 possibly if we have to go a little bit longer, but we're going to let that cool. But I just want to talk a little bit about the apple glaze, which is absolutely delicious. Okay, so we've got another cup of water. Okay, and I've got it on max or on high. And now the other one we reduced to 1/4 cup. This one, the recipe calls to reduce it to 2 tablespoons. All right, so we've reduced things before, and of course, I think anybody that's, cooked a little bit knows what reducing is, right? So we've got a cup of apple juice, and we're going to reduce that down to 2 tablespoons. All right, and that's probably going to take a good half hour. Okay, so you just want to put it on your heat source, bring it to a boil, and then turn it down to a really high, or a lower boil so that it's not, see how it's boiling up and it's going to start to rise. No, I just turned it down a little, so it is starting to not boil quite as heavy. All right, but that's it. That's about good. Now, what?
All you got in there's the apple juice right now?
Right now it's only the apple juice. Now,
Cider.
apple cider. Thank you. Again, refer to the recipe. I love apple juice, though. Funny thing is, I only like apple juice when I don't feel well. I wouldn't drink it normally, but if I got a tummy ache or a cold or something, I don't know why I want apple juice. But anyway, so we're going to let that boil. It is something you got to keep an eye on. You don't have to stand there and stir it, but you don't want to necessarily go out and rake the leaves because once it starts to evaporate, it's going to evaporate really quickly. And again, if you get down to 3 tablespoons, you're good. Then the other thing that's going to be in the glaze is, of course, like any glaze with just a water or milk, is going to be some confectionery sugar or powdered sugar. And we need some heavy cream. We don't need a lot of that. We're only going to need 2 or 3 tablespoons, all right? And that's going to make a lovely glaze for us. Now, the reason I said we'll talk about it, besides just, going over this quick little piece here, is I think there's probably an easier way to do this. I did it this way because that's the way the recipe calls for it. But nowadays you can buy apple extract. So I bet if you took, a couple teaspoons of apple cider and a teaspoon or so of apple extract, you'd get almost the same thing. I haven't tried it yet, but somebody make the cake and make the glaze that way. So use 2 tablespoons of apple cider and say a teaspoon of your apple extract, depending on how it's trying to. Let me know how it come out. But anyway, so then the process is the same. And apple cider right now, and it has been for a while, it is wicked expensive. Wicked is, I'm showing my New England roots. But apple cider is expensive. I think that was $6.99 for half a gallon. I think that's expensive. Wade loves apple cider, though. I'm not a big fan of apple cider. Never have been. All right, guys, so we're going to let this reduce down to 2 tablespoons. Like I said, you got to keep your eye on it. We will come back and make the glaze once the cake is out of the oven and it cools a little bit, all right? But I just wanted to give you kind of a general idea. So you put your cider in, your cup of cider, bring it to a boil, and let it boil away, reduce to about 2 tablespoons, all right? That's it. All right, our cake has been in the oven for just about 50 minutes. Let's give it a look. I wish you could smell this. It smells like a combination between an apple pie and an apple muffin.
You smell the cinnamon.
Yes, huh? It looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to say, so poke in a toothpick, and it's come out nice and clean. Let's give it one more little try on this side, right in the middle, but I think it's going to be good. Yep, clean. All right, guys, so I'm going to say we have cooked in just about 53 minutes. All right, now, of course, the hard part, it's got to cool, all right? So we're going to let that cool to room temperature. Doesn't that look pretty? And we're still reducing our apple cider for our glaze. But wow, and it does smell delicious. Now, ideally, we're going to let this cool. I'm going to cut it into 9 equal pieces, maybe 8. We'll see how much, just because it's Wade and I are going to eat that and all by ourselves over the next couple days this weekend. And then we'll look at Glaze again. All right, so hopefully we'll be back in a couple hours, but it's cool for our dessert. 1. Well, it's almost as good as supper time. Actually, maybe a little better. It's dessert time. Yay! You notice I gave Wade a bigger piece than I gave myself because this way, when I go back to get some tonight, I won't feel so bad. All right, let's dig in.
Ooh.
You could probably eat this with your hand once the glaze sets up. Right.
Reminds me of like an apple coffee cake or something. Yeah.
That's
good.
It is an apple coffee cake, except we're not having coffee with it.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun making this today and going down memory lane.
Very good.
I hope you guys enjoyed watching us make our dessert tonight. And I hope that you love this recipe as much as I do, and I hope you make it. Let us know.
Yes, please. And also remember to like and subscribe. And check out cherryhillhomecooking.com. See you in the next video.
Ciao.
Bye.
That is good.
Look. The apples aren't hard, they're nice and soft.
Yeah.
It's delicious.